Hey everybody, today we're going to talk about rent versus buy. I'm here with Christopher Soto
All
from
right.
Century 21 Yarrow. How are you, buddy?
Good. How are you, Edgar?
Good. So,
Let's get it.
we've been talking a lot about doing the right thing for people and what you come across sometimes where you have to literally tell somebody you're not ready to buy for whichever reason it is. And so
Yeah.
we're going to talk about the pros and cons of renting versus buying and buying versus renting. So obviously we've come across a lot of people that are not ready to buy, but they want to buy and they have the need to buy. But we've also come across people that they can buy, but we told them not to buy because of a specific reason.
Right.
So let's first talk about the pros of buying a home. So we talked about, what you mentioned is the value of homes as they go up, right?
Right. Yeah. So I think from my experience and what I've gathered, I think some of the pros of being a homeowner is that I've gathered from my experience from talking to other renters that are now homeowners is the number one that really stood out to me is when you're renting, the landlord hits you with that notice like, hey, I'm gonna sell. Then at that point, the renter's like, oh crap, like this
I've
is real.
established your home there, your kids are happy,
Yeah.
and the schools that they go to are secure, and all of a sudden there's like your ticket to get out.
There's that 60-day notice. I mean, I've had to be that, and going back to, we wear many different hats in real estate, but I've had to be that agent where like I go to a tenant because the seller's out of state, and I had to go and serve them with whatever 60-day, 90-day notice, and they get real defensive, and then I think that's one of the pros of being a homeowner is that you don't have that.
You have control.
You have control, right? If you want to paint your house a certain color, right? Obviously, if you're a HOA, you can't do that. Maybe you got to get park approval, or the association has to approve it. But if you want to do something, and you want to fix it, you want to make it your own, right? Because that's the first thing somebody buys a house, they're going to make it their own.
Right.
And then if you rent, you're going to start doing stuff, right? But
It's
not yours. And then you fall back on that, they can serve you with that notice like, hey, you know what, I'm going to sell. Yeah. And I think that's the toughest part. And that's where people might get comfortable renting, right? And maybe they're not going to pay as much as a house. Maybe in this market, yeah.
Yeah.
But it gives you that sense of security that if you're a homeowner, like you won't have that.
I think that's the top of a lot of people's books when it comes to buying a home is the sentimental factor of having pride of ownership, and it's yours.
Yeah.
So buying is not necessarily monetarily, guys. It's also sentimental and security for your family, your kids. Yeah. So that is a big one. Yeah. I mean, obviously we talk about how much money you can make in the long run, appreciating values and equity and all that good stuff. But that actually hits home because most people that are evicted from their current situation that they're renting, they don't think about that. They always think that they're going to be renting there forever.
No, yeah.
So,
and we've seen a lot of that right now during the pandemic when the market just gained a lot of appreciation and sellers are like, damn, I want to cash out. And then that's where, like, if you're renting, you want to ask yourself, like, when are they going to pull my ticket?
100%.
When are they going to serve me with, like, hey, you got to go? And then it gives you time to prepare. Because that's one of the things when we talk about buy versus rent, like if you're renting and you want to essentially buy one day, you got to
go through the process.
You got to make sure that your credit is in line, your income, your assets, because you could have like a 800 plus credit score, but maybe you don't have any money saved. Yeah. And then all those, you got to cross your T's and dot your I's.
So that's one of the pros on renting is it's a really low capital to stay as a renter or a tenant.
Yeah.
And your credit doesn't have to be as good.
Yeah.
They really don't check income much. It's just, hey, can you afford the rent? And then bam, you qualify.
Yeah.
So
pretty much,
when it comes to us on the owning side and buying, then we have to pre-approve you, look at your credit, like you mentioned, income and assets, and see what programs are available for you. But another pro of renting is the fact that sometimes in certain markets, rent is cheaper. Like most people say, I've been here for 10 years. My rent's only $1,200.
Yeah.
And that's great. But if you're coming into a new market and starting to rent fresh, I guarantee you the rent's not going to be that much cheaper than the mortgage payment.
No.
So you might as well try to see if you can get approved for a home for the long term.
Right, exactly. Yep, I agree 100%.
So another pro, obviously, we kind of touched on it on owning a home is, earning equity.
Over time, yeah.
Yeah. And this is not necessarily just for a homeowner to buy as a primary, but let's say you don't want to own a home to live in, but you want to buy an investment that'll have an investment for you as a vehicle to get you some cash flow and get you some of that equity in the long haul.
Right. Yeah. I think that's amazing too. I think that's one of my goals too in the future. Maybe have some rental properties.
And it doesn't necessarily have to be here in this town. It could be anywhere in the whole country. Yeah. So if you don't want to buy a home for yourself, but you want to invest, that's pro number 2. I think that you can use that investment to help you with cash flow and grow equity in the long run.
Create some passive income over time. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's one of the things. I mean, to be honest, there's not a lot of pros in renting, other than the fact that if you're already in a place where your rent's super low compared to the mortgage and you have no other way to afford a house, I can go on with a couple other pros on buying. Yeah. And I think the next one, in my opinion, is there's no limit on how many properties you can own. Yeah. And so you can become a homeowner and use the equity from that home as you build equity to buy others.
Yep, exactly.
And in the long run, as rates come down on those homes, you can always refinance and lower the payment. Yes. As opposed to rent going the opposite direction.
Right now, as we've seen it, it's gone up. Yeah. And it's crazy because right now, I was helping somebody from, they were thinking about buying here in California. They were coming from Texas, and they don't know if they're going to be here long term. So after, building rapport and asking all the discovery questions, they're going to test the waters and they're going to rent for, I think, about 12 to 15 months. But the rent is almost $3,000 a month for some luxury properties in West Lancaster. So it really comes down to your why, and maybe renting, I think, might be a short term, depending on if you don't want to be in a certain spot for a long period of time. But then again, you could also become a homeowner, and then you could turn around and just rent it and then have that tenant pay the rent. But everyone's going to have their why, and, you just got to advocate for them and provide all options. Exactly. Yeah. And then they ultimately decide if that's going to be a good route or not. Yep. Yeah.
I mean, those are all good. And obviously, if we come up with more, we'll bring up another video. But at the end of the day, I think, Christopher, that as a homeowner, you do have a lot more opportunity.
Oh, yeah, I think so.
Owning something. In the long run, you're going to earn some equity. And in the long run, if you decide to stay in that home forever and pay it off, and you want additional cash flow, you can always do a reverse mortgage and get money. Yes. So, I mean, you can't do that with anything else other than a home, because that's the only collateral that appreciates that I know of.
Yes, I agree with you 100%. Yeah. And one of the things that I've learned, too, that's most important is it's your foundation. Mm-hmm. It's like where you go, to re-energize, to, kick it with family, to, there's so many things, man. Like at the end of the day, when you're done with work, you go home and you eat, you shower, and
that's your sanctuary.
Exactly. That's the kingdom right there. And that's the foundation, right? You want to be somewhere where you're going to be happy, and that home ownership versus rent, I think it just makes it that much better, because you don't have to worry about the landlord saying that's what I've experienced, and that's what other clients that we've helped, become homeowners have told me. Like, hey, I got served with this, like I'm scrambling, and now they're
it's a different beast.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, anytime somebody has become a homeowner, they've never ever told me that they regretted it.
No, same here.
So obviously, guys, if you're not a homeowner yet, you want to work with a great team that's going to be honest, respectful, and take care of you, make sure to reach out to Chris and I. We're here for you. I know that this became more of an emotional video, but we just want you to get there, because I know we're going to throw numbers out there, but without you understanding why it's great to be a homeowner, it's kind of hard for you to sell yourself on that dream. So we're here for you guys. Reach out to us.
Yep.